The city of Hamilton pays all but its summer students a living wage. But particularly as the pandemic drags on, some are saying that's not enough. Justin Chandler covers the Hamilton-Niagara region for our Ontario hubs, and he joins us from Hamilton on efforts there towards what's called a living wage for everyone. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, good to be here.
Now, before we begin, I want to show this video. Sheldon, if you may. What is a living wage? The minimum wage in Ontario is $14.25 per hour. Depending on where you live, that may not be enough to get by. According to the Ontario Living Wage Network, a worker must earn a certain basic amount to cover expenses. That amount is what two adults working full-time would need to support themselves and two young children. It includes food, shelter, childcare, transportation, medical expenses, a modest vacation, and a small emergency fund. It does not include retirement savings, debt repayment, home ownership, or education savings. Living wage hourly rates were last updated in 2019 and vary by community. In Toronto, the rate is $22.08 per hour, while in Hamilton it's $16.45. Advocates are calling on employers to pay a living wage, not just a minimum wage, so workers can support themselves and contribute to the local economy. Now that we know what advocates are recommending, let's see how possible it is. Justin, you spoke to some people in Hamilton wanting their wages bumped up to a living wage. What did they have to say?
Yes, well, this is something that we heard a lot about at budget delegations in Hamilton this year, which was when the public had some time in February to speak before council and tell them things that they wanted to see. And for the city to pay a living wage was something that a lot of people asked. They wanted to make sure that the 200 or so city employees who are not paid that rate, who are paid between minimum wage and a living wage, were able to get to there. And they say that this would allow for other employers in the city to sort of be influenced and to perhaps pay more if the city can set that moral precedent. And they say that this is important. For example, this one student who I spoke to, Brock Bodo, he delegated before council, and he told me that in his case, working a close to minimum wage job with the city in 2019 was not enough to cover his expenses and pay down his debt. And so he says that a fear he's got is that when he graduates school and he's got a few $1,000s in student loans to pay down, he's not going to be able to live in the city that he grew up.
I actually want to pull up another clip. This is a clip of Aya Yunus, another person you spoke to, and this is her speaking at Hamilton City Council last month.
So we have parents who work in precarious jobs due to the labor market, and as a result, their kids who are students need to work to contribute to household necessities. And I myself have that responsibility, right? And so what about students who live with one parent, or live alone because they have no parent relationship? So everyone's life is different. Not everyone has the same privileged lifestyle as a student, and we need to not forget that we're the same students who need to pay for school supplies, transportation, food, and the list just goes on.
So I touched on a little bit about that, but why is it important that student wages be considered in this living wage?
Well, as I think you heard in the original explainer, a student living wage would be the same as a regular living wage. And that's usually considered something that would be for two adults who are looking after children. But what Aya pointed out there is that a lot of students, they may be older and looking after children. They may be younger and looking after children. Or perhaps they're also paying to support their parents. So everybody's situation is different. And just because somebody happens to be a student doesn't mean that we can assume that they don't need a living wage. That's what they say.
Now, for your article on tbo.org, you spoke to city councilors in Hamilton. What did they have to say about the living wage?
Well, that idea that perhaps it's not something that's intended for students is something that came up in 2020 when this was debated before council. And I spoke to one councilor for my article, Terry Whitehead, who was quite against it at the time. He likened paying a living wage to students as paying tuition for other people, which he said was the worst kind of socialism. And when he spoke to me, he maintained that he understands, he says, that some people do have more difficult situations, and he thinks that those should be dealt with case by case. But he felt that paying the 200 or so employees in the city a couple dollars an hour more was more than needed to be done, especially during difficult economic times.
And you also spoke to Hamilton's mayor, Mayor Fred Eisenberger. He had, I guess, a bit of a different tune than Councillor Terry Whitehead, right?
Yes, absolutely. So the mayor says that he thinks it's completely inexcusable that anybody who's working a full time job can't get by on their wages. And he thinks that the city should be paying a living wage for the same reasons that advocates said. He says that at this point, most employees in the city are paid this much, and he doesn't think it would be too much work to extend that to the remaining students. He says he thinks that it would help them out and it would set an example.
So, this sounds great, increasing, the dollar amounts in Hamilton. It would go up about $2. But this money doesn't obviously come out of thin air. This is businesses having to move their profits or revenue over to pay for, those salaries. How would this cost businesses? What are they saying?
Yes, well, so this is where it gets more complicated, of course. So I spoke to Dr. Kate Rybczynski, who's a labor economist at the University of Waterloo, and what she told me is that any time that wages go up, be it minimum wage or be a business deciding to pay a living wage, a few things can happen. Businesses can choose to take less profit. They can pass through prices so that consumers are paying more for goods and services, or there can be some disemployment effects where maybe they hire fewer people or they let some employees go. So these are all things that can happen. And she says that she thinks that a business could potentially just take less profit and still be able to do these things. But as we've seen with cases where, say, Loblaws, she brought up, decided to pull back pandemic pay despite making significant profits. It's just not something that a lot of businesses like to do. So it's important to keep in mind that, yes, wages can go up and that can help a lot of people, but we also have to think about what businesses might do in response to that.
We also have to think about, the future of young people. Advocates say that a living wage is what will set them up for success. And I ask, how so?
Well, it's the sort of thing where people say every little bit helps, right? And maybe a couple dollars an hour now. Aya told me if your hours have been cut, and we know that a lot of people who are working in precarious jobs have seen more unemployment than other people. That's certainly been the case in Hamilton, studies have shown. So she says, let's say you're working 10 hours now, a couple extra dollars an hour, that could really help you toward making rent at the end of the year. And as the economy gets tough, certainly any savings will go into this. And Kate Rybczynski also said to me, we want to make sure that as we're going forward, we're not stopping people from starting families. When you think about that living wage, if people can't earn enough to save up, then that might be an option that we're taking away from them.
Justin, I want to thank you so much for bringing an important story to the forefront. That's Justin Chandler, Ontario Hub's journalist covering the Hamilton and Niagara region.
Thanks so much, Jan.